Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Islamabad. US raises concerns with Israel over bombing campaign in Beirut, gives 30 days deadline to boost humanitarian aid into Gaza. Georgia voters turn out in record numbers as first day of early voting comes to a close. 9 other states to start early voting this week. And in sports, India start as favourites in the first test in the 3-test series against New Zealand in Bengaluru today. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will attend a conclave of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization on Wednesday in Pakistan's Islamabad. Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Islamabad on Tuesday and attended a dinner reception for the SCO delegates, where he exchanged pleasantries with Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Both the leaders warmly shook hands and held a very brief interaction. This is the first high-level visit from India in years amid continuing strain in ties between the two nations. The last visit to Pakistan by a foreign minister was in 2015 by Sushma Swaraj. She had travelled to Islamabad in December 2015 to attend a conference on Afghanistan. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met Mongolian Prime Minister Oin Erdin Lavsemnar on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Islamabad. Both the leaders expressed pleasure in discussing ways to further strengthen bilateral ties between the two nations. All right, so External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Islamabad to attend the SCO Summit. We also told you how this is, in fact, a first high-level interaction between India and Pakistan in years. Dr. S. Jaishankar also met Pakistan Prime Minister, and here he is seen meeting the delegates from Mongolia. Our correspondent Jessica Taneja is joining us from New Delhi. Jessica, good morning. Now, this is an important high-level visit which is happening after years when we talk of the interaction between India and Pakistan. Get us more as to what all is the agenda when the External Affairs Minister participates in the SCO Summit.
Well, approximately 10 a.m. India time, Pakistan time, which is half an hour ahead, would begin the SCO Summit, and we could understand that there would be a session planned as well. Not much detail has been provided to that effect, but at this moment, when it comes to a few takeaways or expectations from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit being held in Islamabad, there are no talks currently between India and Pakistan which would take place there. Something that has been said by the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar himself, that there will be no talks between the two countries. As in when it comes to cooperation with other countries, you saw that he met his counterparts from Mongolia and other countries. Remember, the SCO is a grouping which was formed in Shanghai in 2001. It has members of the Eurasian region, which also includes the likes of Kazakhstan, as well as, in fact, even Belarus to that extent. So this grouping is a closely knit one and has met on and off. But when it comes to India's engagement at the SCO Summit, it will be limited to understanding the wider cooperation between nations in this particular multilateral grouping. And the core purpose of this multilateral grouping ever since its inception has been cooperation in security as well as economic development, as I mentioned earlier, in the Eurasian region. So that continues to be the focus when it comes to India's engagement. Yes, you're absolutely right in pointing out this is perhaps after 9 years, the External Affairs Minister has visited Pakistan. And this certainly came with its own set of expectations, but it will be more advisable to wait for what in terms of the drafted declaration, or at the end, which is issued, the outcomes of this particular grouping and what it has to offer as an alternative multilateral forum, which we see in the West so often. But it is not considered a complete alternative. It's a framework that has countries which come together to talk issues on regional security more per se.
All right, Jessica, now the SCO Summit is in succession to the Shanghai Five, and over the years it evolved to new members being added. Help us understand the footing of this grouping on the global page. You tell us that it is it is talking of economic stability and economic issues in the region. But then, what is the footing of this summit on the global page? How has it evolved over the years?
There have always been calls of the post-World War order to be reformed, to be changed in a certain sense, which is more inclusive and accommodative of the developing countries' needs, especially in the 21st century, as most of them, who were colonized in the past, have formed separate multilateral groupings, and SCO is one of them, started by China, of course, back in 2001, as I pointed out, and it originally continues to remain on the path where there are no political interferences in each other's countries' governments, etc., but only focusing on the regional mechanism and how to strengthen them. For example, funding development projects in each other's countries, which sort of reduces the burden of debt. And also, most of the times, the grouping constitutes each year to take stock of the initiatives that they had currently or previously undertaken. So it is, of course, limited to that, but at the end of the day, it is also a multilateral grouping which includes the countries, as I pointed out, Kazakhstan, you have Belarus, you have Tajikistan, you have Pakistan, India, China, as well as you talk about Iran is also one of the members of this grouping. So all of these players, with their shared interests, come out and discuss as to what can be done when it comes to at least peace and security in the region.
All right, Jessica, also, get us a sense of get us a sense of this as to how do we see this visit by the External Affairs Minister going to Islamabad after years, in fact, after 9 years almost. The External Affairs Minister will be in Pakistan. How do we see this visit? Could we say that only SCO is on the agenda, or do we look for more to it?
As I pointed out earlier, the anticipation and expectation is for an India-Pakistan bilateral or talks between the two. That is not happening, and that has been cleared and reflected by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar's remarks previously as well. In fact, before leaving for the summit, yes, India is going there. It is going to attend. It has sent one of its top officials to Pakistan after many years. And this certainly was enabled by a certain environment that was created. You see, in 2021, when there was a ceasefire and there was truce at the border, at least primarily, there has been some movement in terms of, cooperation between the two, if not to the level of holding talks, because for India, talk and terror do not go together. And India continues to maintain that stance till the time Pakistan harbors terrorists that cause India trouble in the state of Kashmir and even elsewhere. India will not hold any kind of bilateral talks or talk on issues further until unless that action is taken and Pakistan stops emanating terror and keeps a hold on it and stops harboring terrorists that have harmed India in the recent past as well, and things which will never perhaps be forgotten. So once those issues are ironed out, once Pakistan wants to talk about those issues, and if you've seen the Pakistan media yesterday, their foreign minister, Bilawal Bhutto, also spoke to quite an extent to the local media, saying that they would want to have a conversation with India, but India has clarified on the other hand that these initiatives will not matter because talk and terror will not go together. So that continues to be what the Indian view, and that is highly unlikely to change. And given that backdrop, it of course remains as to be seen as to what would be the effective outcomes that also include perhaps looking at the relationship between India and Pakistan, but the focus of this visit is not mending relationship with Pakistan or mending ties with Pakistan. It is simply about the External Affairs Minister attending a multilateral event and an organization where the conversation will be limited to the issues that I pointed out earlier.
All right, Jessica, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. India's President Draupadi Murmu, who is on a visit to Algeria, was conferred with an honorary doctorate in Algiers in recognition of her advocacy for science and knowledge for all social groups in India. The President also visited the Roman ruins and the mausoleum in Tipaza province on the final day of her visit to Algeria.
India's President Draupadi Murmu is on a 3-day Algeria state visit. She was accorded the honorary doctorate by the Sidi Abdallah Science and Technology Pole University. President Murmu said that the doctorate conferred upon her is, in fact, an honor for India.
It is indeed a humbling experience for me to be honored with the honorary doctorate. This is an honor for my country more than for me as an individual. It is an honor you are bestowing on a country, citizen and the culture that has been an ardent and consistent champion of peace and education since time immemorial.
President Murmu said that education neutralizes the social inequalities and provides equal opportunities for all. She urged the Algerian government to avail the benefits of India's high-tech and other scholarship programs.
India provides quality education at a fraction of the cost of Western institutions to ever increasing number of students from Africa, including from Algeria. We also offer several scholarships and fellowships to African students. I invite educational institutions, governmental departments, and youth of Algeria to take advantage of various initiatives of Government of India.
President Murmu also visited the Roman ruins and the mausoleum in Tipaza province. She also inaugurated the India Corner at the Hama Garden at Jardin d'Assai. Earlier on Monday, President Murmu had a bilateral meeting with the country's President Abdelmadjid Tebboune. She also addressed the India-Algeria business community. President Murmu will also visit Mauritania and Malawi after concluding the Algeria visit.
The visit of President Draupadi Murmu to Algeria has indeed been a historic one. Some new chapters have been opened between the two countries which already share a cordial relationship. President Murmu also extended an invitation to the Algerian president, which he has accepted, and will be visiting India soon. With camera person Sandeep, Amit Mukherjee for DD India in Algiers.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Indian Army Chief is on a 4-day visit to Japan, aims to boost bilateral defense cooperation. Sea phase of Malabar exercise 2024 underway in Visakhapatnam. Northeast monsoon rainfall activity commences over southeast peninsular India from October 15th.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we will talk about the recent Army Commanders Conference 2024 held at Gangtok in Sikkim. We will tell you why these conferences are held and what do they discuss. Why was this Army Commanders Conference at Gangtok strategically so important? On the other side, in our neighborhood, why is Pashtun Tahaffuz movement a challenge for Pakistan? And also we will be diving deep into the story that has been at the forefront of global headlines, the tensions between China and Taiwan. And also, we'll tell you how Taiwan plans to defend itself. Watch Defense Dynamics on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. India and Colombia reviewed the existing bilateral relations, including trade, investment, energy and ITE during the 10th round of Foreign Office consultations in New Delhi. The Indian delegation was led by Jaideep Mazumdar, Secretary East, while the Colombian side was represented by Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jorge Enrique Rogers Rodriguez. Now, both the sides exchanged views on regional, multilateral and international issues of mutual interest. The two sides also identified new areas of cooperation such as defense, renewable energy and railways. India and Colombia have a long history of diplomatic relations which were officially established in 1959. Colombia opened its embassy in New Delhi in 1972, followed by India establishing its embassy in Colombia in 1973. With an aim to bolster defense cooperation between India and Japan, Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi is on a 4-day visit to the island country. During the visit, he met Defense Minister of Japan, General Nakatani, and conveyed his commitment to further boost the bilateral defense cooperation between the two nations. The Army Chief also held bilateral meetings with his Japanese counterpart, General Yasunori Morishita, and discussed plans for enhancing the army-to-army ties. The navies of India, US, Australia and Japan are currently engaged in a wide range of maritime warfare operations as part of Exercise Malabar. The sea phase of Exercise Malabar 2024 kicked off on Tuesday off the coast of Visakhapatnam. As part of this phase, the participating navies will engage in a wide range of maritime warfare operations covering the surface, subsurface and air warfare domains. Now, these advanced and complex exercises are designed to enhance mutual understanding and coordination with the aim of operating seamlessly as a combined task force at sea. Now, this sea phase will further strengthen interoperability between the participating nations and also contribute towards enhancing regional security and stability in the Indo-Pacific. The sea phase will culminate on 18th of October with a closing ceremony for Malabar 2024. Continuous growth is being recorded in exports from India's Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh occupies 15th position in terms of exports, but in recent years it has registered a sharp rise in the figures. Pharmaceuticals, residue and waste, cotton, mechanical equipment and textile sector make up for the most of the exports. Now, according to the data of financial year 2023-24, the highest export was of pharmaceutical products at 13,158 crore rupees.
Export which has been continuously increasing in Madhya Pradesh, especially due to the two reasons. One, the inclination of Madhya Pradesh in manufacturers and service providers to go beyond boundaries and export their services and products to outside countries. And secondly, the friendly policies of the government that encourages the manufacturer and every entrepreneur to go towards export.
The Pradesh government itself has first insisted on diversifying, so a lot of cities have now become textile export hubs, and they have given a lot of incentives in terms of interest subsidy, interest subvention and TUFs, Textile Upgradation Fund scheme, which of course comes from the central government, but a modified version has also been given by the Madhya Pradesh government.
India's aviation authorities are on high alert after multiple flights received bomb threats since Monday. On Tuesday, the Indigo flight bound for Lucknow from Dammam in Saudi Arabia made an emergency landing at Jaipur airport after receiving a bomb threat. A bomb detection and disposal squad and sniffer dogs checked the plane and no suspicious object was found. Another plane, an Air India Express flight, made an emergency landing at Maharishi Valmiki Airport in Ayodhya after a bomb threat. The recent wave of threats began on Monday when 2 Indigo flights and an Air India flight received bomb threats, which were later identified as hoaxes. Also, a series of threats prompted emergency response from airlines and security agencies, including immediate counter-terrorism drills at various airports. The Ministry of Civil Aviation also convened a high-level meeting following the threats. Now, according to the sources, Minister of Civil Aviation Ram Mohan Naidu held a meeting with the Bureau of Civil Aviation, CISF and other senior officials in airport security. The northeast monsoon rainfall activity has commenced over southeast peninsular India from October 15th. The IMD further announced that in association with a well-marked low-pressure area over South Bay of Bengal, isolated very heavy to extremely heavy rainfall is likely over Tamil Nadu, Kerala and south interior Karnataka till October 17th, issuing an orange alert for these regions. Heavy rain lashed Chennai and other regions of Tamil Nadu on Tuesday, bringing residential neighborhoods and roads under knee-deep water and leading to traffic congestion besides affecting public transport services. NDRF teams deployed in Chennai and adjoining regions to tackle the situation. The northeast monsoon rainfall activity, as we told you, has commenced over southeast peninsular India. Also, the IMD has made further predictions for the weather in the next few days. There is expectation of a low pressure area over South Bay of Bengal, which would bring in a heavy to very heavy rainfall over Tamil Nadu, Kerala and south interior Karnataka till October 17th. Also, an orange alert has been issued for these regions. Our correspondent Anburasan is joining us to get us more. Good morning, Anburasan. Get us, how has the day begun? We've told our viewers that the monsoon has already, begun from October 15th. Get us, how has the day begun today?
As the northeast monsoon set in Tamil Nadu for yesterday onwards, the heavy rainfall has registered from yesterday onwards. The meteorological department has predicted a red alert to Tamil Nadu and particularly the northern district of Tamil Nadu. And chief of regional meteorological department has said that the low pressure area on the Bay of Bengal has been intensified. Now it's a low pressure depression has formed, and it will be moving to the Chennai, in between Chennai and Nellore on tomorrow's morning. So as we predict, as the meteorological department has predicted, the red alert is given to the Chennai. The rainfall has significantly decreased due to the depression is moving towards the southern Andhra. So we have get the yesterday rainfall data. In that nearly 13 centimeter of rainfall has registered in Chennai, and particularly the KTCC region. The Kanjipuram, Tiruvallur, Chennai and Chengalpattu region have also registered a heavy rainfall. The low-lying area of Chennai, including a Velachery, where the water level has a little bit increased and water lagging, as we can see that. So the local administration and district administration is deployed various electric pumps to pump out the water from the low-lying area, and also the state administration also in full swing regarding tackle this issue. As the prediction of IMD, the depression is going towards the southern Andhra, we can see that the rainfall is significantly decreasing, and still we can get the information that particularly the Delta region and the other interior Tamil Nadu also get the rainfall from yesterday onwards. And particularly the electronic EB department, health official, all they set up in full swing, and the relief camp, nearly 269 relief camps are registered, and people who are staying in low-lying area, they can reach there to get the treatment. And also the 4 lakes of Chennai, which the last year nearly it's filled and made a flood-like situation in Chennai. Now it's nearly off a capacity, so this level of rain may increase more water, so it may not make a flood-like situation on this time. That is what predicted by the IMD and also the PWD department of Chennai.
All right, Anburasan, also get us more as to what are the future predictions of the IMD in the next few days. How long do we expect the weather to be like this or uncertain?
As IMD predicted red alert to today to Tamil Nadu and tomorrow orange alert, the rainfall will be nearly 40 centimeter maximum as the prediction of IMD. But till now that much significant rainfall is not been registered from morning onwards. As some private bloggers and also IMD has predicted, afternoon onwards there is a significant rainfall. And also the northeastern monsoon normally will bring more rain to the Tamil Nadu and also southern district. So it will be, and it came little early because the southwest monsoon is not yet completed. Actually, it's going to complete next 4 days, but before itself, the northeastern monsoon started. So the IMD has said that the rainfall that given the red alert to the people and public, it may be not that much because the water level and also the depression is going towards southern Andhra. So the significant rainfall may be in between. The heavy rainfall not yet registered in Chennai and in and around areas.
All right. Thank you so much for joining in with those details this morning. And in a major boost to India's defense capabilities, the Government of India inked a deal with the US government for tri-service procurement of 31 MQ-9B Predator drones. Another contract has been signed with General Atomics Global India Private Limited for performance-based logistics for these remotely piloted aircraft systems, which include the depot-level maintenance, repair and overhaul in India. The contracts were inked in the presence of Defence Secretary Giridhar Aramane in New Delhi, in the presence of senior defence officials of the two countries. The deal for the advanced drones was signed at an overall cost of about $4 billion. This significant purchase is under the Foreign Ministry's sales framework and comes as a key step in bolstering India's military strength. The MQ-9B drones, a variant of the MQ-9 Reaper, are well known for their combat effectiveness and surveillance capabilities. National Conference leader Omar Abdullah is all set to take oath as the first Chief Minister of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The ceremony will be held at Sher-e-Kashmir International Convention Centre in Srinagar, with Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha administering the oath of office and secrecy. Abdullah will be the first Chief Minister of the Union Territory after abrogation of Article 370 in 2019. Earlier, he staked his claim to form the government, submitting the letters of support from 42 National Conference MLAs, 4 independents, 6 Congress legislators and 1 CPIM representative. Over 300,000 Indian tourists have travelled to Sri Lanka this year, making India the biggest source market for tourism in the island nation. As per data released by Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, over 15 lakh tourists have visited the island nation this year, up till mid-October. It is notable that connectivity has been an important facet of bilateral relations between India and Sri Lanka during the recent years. With regular flights on one hand and resumption of ferry services on the other, travel between the two countries has become easier and comfortable. Sri Lankan tourism authorities have recently said that they expect 3 million foreign tourists in 2025. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. Indian Army renamed Kaksar Bridge in North India's Ladakh to Captain Amit Bhardwaj Setu in tribute to Kargil war heroes. The bridge, now a lasting symbol of valor and sacrifice, was inaugurated by Sunita Dhonkaria, the sister of the late Captain Bhardwaj. The initiative was part of the 25th anniversary commemoration of Kargil Vijay Divas, honouring Captain Amit Bhardwaj, who made the ultimate sacrifice during the 1999 conflict. Indian Airlines Indigo on Monday launched its latest route connecting Rajkot and Pune, the first direct flight between the two cities. The new Rajkot-Pune to Rajkot flight was welcomed with a water cannon salute at Rajkot Airport. With this, the number of flights operating out of Rajkot Airport has gone up to 10. Potters in Western Indian city of Rajkot are busy these days as the demand for the earthen lamps has surged manifolds ahead of Diwali. Clay lamps, often known as diyas, have been a significant part of Diwali celebrations since ages. They not only provide light but also carry significant cultural and spiritual value. Samsung Electronics workers in southern India have ended a month-long strike over pay and working conditions after welfare measures were agreed. India is the world's most populous country and its growing middle class is an important growth market for Samsung, a company whose output accounts for nearly a quarter of South Korea's GDP. You're watching DD India News Hour, but we're heading for a short break. But after the break, snap elections in Iceland on November 30th, following the collapse of the fractious coalition. European Union and Gulf Cooperation Council officials meet in Brussels to chalk out the agenda for the first ever summit. Meta to face lawsuits by US states for making teenagers addicted to Facebook and Instagram.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories now. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Islamabad. US raises concerns with Israel over bombing campaign in Beirut, gives 30 days deadline to boost humanitarian aid into Gaza. Georgia voters turn out in record numbers as first day of early voting comes to a close. 9 other states to start early voting this week. And in sports, India start as favourites in the first test in the 3-test series against New Zealand in Bengaluru today. All right, in international news, the United States has told Israel to improve Gaza humanitarian situation in the next month or risk military aid. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, in a letter to Israeli officials, said that they must take steps within 30 days to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza to avoid legal action involving U.S. military aid. The letter cited Israel's denial of most humanitarian movement between northern and southern Gaza and burdensome and excessive restrictions on what goods can enter Gaza. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that the letter was not meant as a threat, but reiterated the urgency of increasing humanitarian assistance in Gaza. Miller also spelled out the reasons for the U.S. to give a 30-day window for the same.
It was appropriate to send a letter and just say this has to happen overnight. We give them make clear there's a short window in which we want to see changes because the humanitarian situation is so dire on the ground.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has opposed any ceasefire deal that would not halt Hezbollah from rearming. In a call with French President Emmanuel Macron, Netanyahu said that he was opposed to a unilateral ceasefire which does not change the security situation in Lebanon and which will only return to the way it was. Netanyahu and the Israeli military have insisted there must be a buffer zone along Israel's border with Lebanon where there is no presence of Hezbollah fighters. On Monday, France rejected demands made by Netanyahu for a UN peacekeeping mission known as UNIFIL to pull back from its position in Lebanon. Echoing similar sentiments, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also said that heeding Israel's unilateral demand for UN peacekeepers to be withdrawn from the country would be a grave mistake. On Tuesday, she announced a visit to Lebanon on Friday, saying a withdrawal of the UNIFIL mission would be a grave mistake and undermine the credibility of the United Nations. Houthi fighters in Yemen are also being urged for a ceasefire as they continue to attack the ships in the Red Sea. UN Special Envoy reiterated the UN Secretary General's call for an immediate ceasefire and regional de-escalation 5 days after Iran-aligned Houthi terrorists attacked a Liberia-flagged tanker in the Red Sea.
Regrettably, Yemen is part of this escalation and risks being further dragged in. It has been a particularly difficult year for United Nations personnel in the region. In Yemen, Ansar Allah continues to hold United Nations personnel, civil society workers and staff of diplomatic missions in arbitrary detention. With all this said, I echo the urgent call of the Secretary General. An immediate ceasefire and regional de-escalation is needed to halt this widening conflict.
Houthi fighters in Yemen have carried out nearly 100 attacks on ships crossing the Red Sea since November and say they are acting in solidarity with Palestinians in Israel's year-long conflict in Gaza. They have sunk 2 vessels, seized another and killed at least 4 seafarers. Let's get you a quick update on the ground situation now. First up, on Israel's strike in Lebanon against Hezbollah. 5 people, including 3 children, were killed after Israeli warplanes bombed the town of Riyadh in the Bekaa Valley in eastern Lebanon, while at least 10 people were killed in the strikes on the town of Qana in southern Lebanon. So far, the main focus of Israel's military operations in Lebanon has been in the south, the Bekaa Valley in the east, and the suburbs of Beirut. Despite the intensified Israeli operation, Lebanese people are making all efforts to lead a normal life. Some private schools have started the academic year despite the conflict, but public schools stay closed. Many of these are used as shelters for displaced people and simply don't have space for school classes. However, the country's education minister announced on Sunday that the beginning of the school year would be postponed till late October or early November, hoping that the security situation would be stabilized till then. Voters in Georgia turned out in record numbers as the battleground state opened early voting for the November 5th presidential election. Georgia had posted a record turnout for the first day of early voting within 6 hours of polls opening, where 16 electoral votes are up for grabs. In many states, early voting is already underway. Georgia's Secretary of State said at least 234,000 votes have already been cast, more than any single day in 2022. Georgia is one of the number of US states that allows voters to cast their ballots in person before the election. Meanwhile, a Fulton County judge in Georgia ruled that certifying elections is a required duty of a county election board, and also they are not allowed to reuse the results based on suspicion of miscounts or fraud. US President Joe Biden rallied support for Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign at a Philadelphia event, urging voters to elect her as the next leader of the country. During her speech, Biden took direct aim at former President Donald Trump and called him a loser. The president also criticized Trump's rhetoric on immigration, accusing him of stoking racism and invoking ideas from the past century.
Trump's whole come down to demonizing immigrants. Call immigrants animals, saying they don't have good genes, saying they poison the blood of our country. It's sick. You know, it's designed to prey on our worst fears. It's un-American. Think about it. Trump hides all his racism, or used to, but now it's just out front. He has the same ideas on race as the 1930s. Trump's ideas in the economy are from the 20s. Trump's idea in women are from the 50s. And folks, this is 2024. We can't go back. We've made too much progress. We have to keep moving forward.
All right, Amritpal Singh is joining us from California. Amrit, how is the election fever there picking up with some states already in progress when we talk of early voting?
That's right. Early voting is a phenomena in the US politics where the states allow people to vote early. They have different set of rules, as in, some states allow absentee voting. Then you need an excuse that why you are voting early, which could range from injury to physical illness, or you're out of the county doing vacationing or for business. But other states allow mail-in voting. They send you the ballot on mail, and you can do. So that's the concept of early voting. Many states have already become, some states began like Virginia, South Dakota, etc., way back in September. Georgia opened the early voting today. Now Georgia becomes increasingly interesting because Georgia is a swing state here, a battleground state, a very close contest is playing out in Georgia, and the kind of numbers that you saw today, the latest numbers that I have till about 4 hours ago, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is that 250,000 people had already cast their votes, both mail-in and in person. So that is a great turnout, and that signifies the contest is very, very close. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have been campaigning hard. Kamala is going to campaign on Saturday once again. Donald Trump was in Atlanta, the capital of Georgia, yesterday, campaigning there. So, they are trying to woo voters in the last bit. Yes, Preeti.
All right, so they are leaving no stone unturned to woo the voters. Amrit, what is it that the voters are exactly looking for when they go out to vote? What are the issues, dominant issues?
Okay, there are multiple issues. Economy, of course, tops the charts of all the people that I've spoken to. A cross-section of society, age, race, gender. The cost of living is a big issue for them. Today I went to the San Francisco University where I met young students. They said getting education is very, very difficult and expensive. The cost of housing is very expensive. Here where I am in San Francisco, there is a huge housing crisis. There are a lot of homeless people lying out on the streets. So economy is a big issue. Wages are not corresponding. Inflation is at an all-time high. In fact, the latest Pew Research says that 81% of Americans feel their economy is the single biggest issue that affects them. The cost of living is really affecting them. The other issues, of course, are what Donald Trump's favorite is migration, what he's been vilifying migrants, especially illegal migrants. When he was in Atlanta, he said they are taking away black jobs. Remember, there is a concentration of black people, especially people from the black community or the colored community in Georgia. They form about 1/3 of the population there. So that's what both parties are trying to do. So that is one issue. Donald Trump has gone on to call immigrants rapists and murderers. So the Biden campaign that you saw today he was saying that he's a man who's dangerous for the United States, and he's vilifying the migrants because migrants traditionally have been the vote bank of the Democrats. And then, of course, reproductive rights and abortion, the wall. So these are some issues that matter to people here. Preeti?
All right, Amrit, also help our viewers understand the concept of swing states and how do they affect the election process there?
That's a very interesting question. Now, in US, what happens, there are 50 states, and of course, then there is Washington, D.C., which has 3 seats. So 51 in total. If you were to count Washington, D.C. as a state, though it's technically a federal capital territory, but it's a voting unit, which has 3 seats, of course. And okay, now what happens is that some states traditionally vote for certain parties. They are the ones who vote for the Republicans are called the red states. They are mainly Midwest. The coastal states, both the East Coast, if you look at the East Coast, Maine, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, these are some of the states which are the blue states. The Midwest, on the western coast, you have Washington, you have California. They are what the blue states. They traditionally vote for these parties. Now, there are some states which decide at the last moment and go either way. They are called the swing states or the battleground states. This time around, there are 7 swing states, which include, of course, Georgia, Pennsylvania with 19 votes is the biggest swing state. Then you have Nevada, you have Arizona, you have Wisconsin, you have Michigan. So these are what the swing states are, and that's why Georgia is very important. Penn State or Pennsylvania is the most important because it has the largest numbers. So Georgia, Arizona, Penn State, I think would really be the states which will decide who the next president of the United States would be.
All right, Amrit, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. And Iceland will hold a snap election on November 30th following the collapse of the fractious coalition. Prime Minister Bjarni Benediktsson on Sunday announced the government's resignation over deep divisions within the three-party left-right coalition on issues ranging from foreign policy to asylum seekers and energy. The coalition was made up of Benediktson's Independence Party, the Left-Green Movement and the Centre-Right Progressive Party. Iceland has not been due to hold parliamentary elections until September next year at the latest. Foreign ministers of the European Union and Gulf Cooperation Council met in Brussels on Tuesday ahead of a first-ever summit likely to focus on the West Asia crisis, Russia-Ukraine conflict and other relevant aspects of bilateral cooperation. Foreign ministers posed for a family photo along with the European Union Foreign Policy Chief. The first EU-Gulf Cooperation Council summit will commence from Wednesday and will be co-chaired by the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, and the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has been invited to attend a summit of European Union leaders in Brussels this week. European Council President Charles Michel said that he has invited Ukrainian President Zelenskyy to present his victory plan at a meeting of EU leaders on 17th of October. Military support to Kyiv and strengthening Ukraine's bettered energy sector are among the topics on the table. Zelenskyy has been seeking fresh military and financial aid from his European allies. A group of migrants have been transferred from Italy to newly set up asylum processing center in Albania. A first group of 18 migrants has been headed to Albania. 10 were from Bangladesh and 6 from Egypt, both deemed safe countries by Italy. The transfer is part of a contentious plan to process thousands of asylum seekers outside Italy's borders. Despite criticism of the scheme both at home and abroad, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has called the move a good example. Facebook parent company Meta must face lawsuits by US states, accusing it of fueling mental health problems among teens by making its Facebook and Instagram platforms addictive, a federal judge in California ruled on Tuesday. The judge also rejected motions by Meta, ByteDance's TikTok, Google parent Alphabet's Google, YouTube and Snapchat to dismiss related personal injury lawsuits by individual plaintiffs. The other companies are not defendants to the state's lawsuits. The ruling clears the way for states and other plaintiffs to seek more evidence and potentially go to trial. It is not a final ruling on the merits of their cases. The mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, announced plans to revamp Notre Dame's surroundings into a serene green oasis beyond restoring the cathedral's famous spire and medieval charm. The project will unfold in 2 phases, with the first focusing on the Paris and surrounding streets, and also the second will include the renovation of the Square Jean 23 and other nearby areas. Now, the project aims to enable heritage legacy with its need to adapt to global warming, creating 1,800 square meters of green space and plantation of 160 trees. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. Visitors explore select areas of the Grand Egyptian Museum in Giza during a trial tour before its official opening later this year. The museum is partially accessible ahead of its grand debut. The Vatican museums have unveiled the restored Apollo Belvedere statue after 5 years of work. The restoration, costing €250,000, addressed structural damage using carbon fiber technology. Albania's port of Schengen prepares to receive its first migrants under a deal with Italy. 16 men rescued from the Mediterranean will be housed in temporary cabins, raising human rights concerns. Let's get to updates from the world of business now. The World Bank voted on Tuesday to boost its lending capacity by $30 billion over 10 years, a move that is aimed at helping developing countries cope with the climate change. The bank made changes to its internal lending guidelines, freeing up to $30 billion in additional lending capacity over the next decade. World Bank President Ajay Banga said their International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or the IBRD, would lower its equity to lending ratio by 1 percentage points to 18%. Now, this is based on a report prepared for a group of 20 major economies and demanded by the shareholders, including the United States.
A combination of squeezing the balance sheet through equity to loan ratios, but also through hybrid capital and portfolio guarantees, has led to, I think, including what we just got today, probably close to $150 billion of more capacity to lend over the coming 7 to 10 years.
Bangladesh's post-COVID recovery continues to be impacted by financial sector vulnerabilities. And the World Bank on Tuesday said that the impact is due to high inflation, balance of payment deficit, and also increasingly limited job opportunities for women and educated youth. In its twice-yearly update, the bank added that Bangladesh's real GDP growth moderated to 5.2% in the financial year 24, primarily due to weak consumption and exports. Also, it is projected to decelerate to 4% in financial year 25, driven by subdued investment and industrial sector activities. The report highlights urgent and bold reforms that are necessary to help the country return to a strong, inclusive and sustainable growth path. Boeing factory workers held a large rally in Seattle on Tuesday to demand a better wage deal, mounting pressure on new CEO Kelly Ortberg to end a bitter strike that has plunged the plane maker further into financial crisis. Hundreds of striking workers packed the main hall at union headquarters demanding better salary. Around 33,000 unionized West Coast workers, most in Washington state, have been on strike since September 13th, demanding a 40% wage increase spread over 4 years and halting production of Boeing's best-selling 737 MAX and its 767 and 777 wide bodies. Boeing last week withdrew its latest offer, which included a 30% wage increase over 4 years, after talks, also attended by federal mediators, broke down. The Canadian dollar recently fell to a near 10-week low against its US counterpart, driven by a disappointing inflation report that raised concerns about the country's economic outlook. Now, this dip reflects broader market reactions and the impact of monetary policy on the currency. Investors raised bets on an outsized interest rate cut by the Bank of Canada after domestic data showed inflation falling below the central bank's 2% target. Asian equities fell on Wednesday after disappointing earnings from Europe's biggest tech firm dragged chip stocks around the world. The euro loitered around 2 months low. Also, the markets are ascribing a 96% chance of a 25 basis point cut from the Fed next month, as per the data of the CME Fed Watch. The dollar has surged in recent weeks. Brent crude oil futures rose 0.4%. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures also rose 0.5%. The Japan Mobility Show, an exhibition of mobility products and services by more than 200 companies and organizations, kicked off on Tuesday at Makuhari Messe Convention Center in Japan. Now, the event is designed to promote innovation by fostering business co-creation between mobility-related companies and startups focused on next-generation activity. Looking to increase EV use, the startups are showcasing compact charging equipment for small parking lots, as well as wireless charging technology. After business, we turn focus to sports now. Team India is all set to take on New Zealand in the first test in just a while from now in Bengaluru. The men in blue will begin the 3-match series as favourites after registering a thumping win against Bangladesh. Ahead of the match, Kiwis have already suffered a huge blow as Kane Williamson has been ruled out due to injury. Let's take a look at this pre-match preview to know more.
Indian team will host New Zealand in the first of 3 test match series on October 16 in Bengaluru, which could be billed as uneven battle. Led by Tom Latham, New Zealand face an uphill battle against India that has been invincible at home in the recent past. The visitors have never beaten the hosts in the subcontinent in a test series and lost 1-0 on their last tour in 2021. In fact, New Zealand have won only 2 tests and none since 1988 in India. In addition to this, Kiwis have suffered a big blow as their star batter Kane Williamson has been ruled out of the first test due to injury. Recently, New Zealand lost 2-0 in Galle against Sri Lanka. However, New Zealand remain optimistic, batter Rachin Ravindra said. As New Zealanders, we do not try to look at opposition too much. We know what a quality side they are and what they bring to the table. But I think we have to play our game and be consistent and put our best foot forward. And hopefully that results in a win. Who knows? On the other hand, India led by Rohit Sharma remain firm favourites. India trounced Bangladesh 2-0 in their most recent test series and are unbeaten at home in the longest format since 2012. It could be a special match for Virat Kohli, who is just 53 runs away from reaching 9,000 test runs. In 62 test encounters, India have won 22 matches, while New Zealand have secured 13 wins, with the rest of the matches ending in draw. But India's head coach Gautam Gambhir urged caution. New Zealand is a completely different challenge. We know that they are a very, very good team. We know they have got some really high quality players. They have got players who can hurt us. We want to be a team that can make 400 runs in a day and bat for 2 days to draw. In the ensuing series, India will gun for 19th straight home test series win, while New Zealand will hope to script history. Sports Desk, DD India.
The wetlands of Latin America are among the most vibrant and diverse ecosystems on the planet that is rich with scenic beauty. Areas such as Pantanal in Brazil and the Everglades in Florida are home to a wealth of biodiversity. Now, these wetlands are not just natural wonders, but are also vital for ecosystems that support a wide array of environment. With that, we end this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. You can download the respective QR codes on your screens. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.